Cheryl, I came across this amazing letter, and it's entitled Dear Evangelical. And the reason the person wrote the letter, and I will admit, I disagree with quite a few things he says, but the actual message that he's trying to convey really convicted me. But the letter basically is stating that we as evangelicals, Christ followers, people that have given their lives to Jesus, he says, when you talk, you've got this unique tone. And he said that tone simply makes those of us within these categories, and let me just quickly name them, those who are Muslims, undocumented immigrants, LGBT community, African Americans. He says, when you evangelicals talk sometimes, your tone makes us feel that not only you, but the God you serve hate us. And he explained it a little more, and I understand what he's saying, but I will admit I do disagree with a lot of what he said. But here's where it kind of gets unique. At the end of the letter, he's talking about, and he's concluding, he's talking about the fact that he's saying, you know, I can't imagine, and my friends can't imagine, how that any version of Jesus could be cool with all the things you say and how you say them. And I thought, any version of Jesus, that simply means you've got a version of Jesus, I've got a version of Jesus, and we're guilty of, Cheryl, sometimes in communicating a different Jesus to the world, and as a result, this is what happens, a letter.
You know, it's heartbreaking, but I think he has a valid point. You know, sometimes we don't show joy, sometimes we don't show grace, sometimes we don't show love, and yet we don't understand why people don't get the fact that God loves them. But we ourselves don't love people.
That's right, and just because we may disagree with them doesn't mean we don't love them. But it's how we say it, and I know there's people out there that say things the wrong way, but if we can say things in love, and I want to say challenge, but in challenging with love, it does get their attention. And I've always found out that people that disagree with what I believe, as long as we can have a conversation, they absolutely respect me.
For sure, and I have many friends like that. And I think actually the first step, if you feel convicted by a conversation such as this, is to start having relationships and making friends with people outside of your bubble, your Christian bubble, which is so easy to get into. I know people, they want a Christian hairdresser and a Christian mechanic, and then you only know people who think like you. It's so important, and I feel this way as a broadcaster. It's so important for me to know people who say, actually, I didn't like the way you said that, you know, or that didn't make any sense to me when you communicated it that way. And that's the way that we kind of learn how to communicate to a broad swath of people, but also have empathy.
Yeah. And going back to that whole point that he brings out, make sure that the Jesus you're talking to me about is the Jesus you all agree with. And I thought that it really hit home to me, and it made me realize that what I say about Jesus and what I communicate about Jesus, I want to make sure that I don't say anything that Jesus never said, nor do I want to make sure what Jesus said, I don't say it in a rude way that's going to offend anybody in the sense that they can sense hate from me.
Yeah, exactly.
Convicts me terribly.
Great.